Okay, so this isn't exactly your best or your first option for a post-game show, but for tonight, it's probably the one you want to watch. We welcome you to an episode of Pucknology After Dark following a great 2-1 Sharks victory, a victory they absolutely needed. I am not Brodie Brazil, although I do play him on YouTube. We are joined by AJ Strong, Chris JWS, Jay Alexander, and our special guest, the awesome, the greatest, Brodie Brazil from Comcast Sportsnet California. All right, guys, you can unmute yourselves.
Heyo! Hey, nice introduction, Eric. You only had the pregame logo up there, and it was our old graphics. I won't ding you for that, but no stuttering. You made great points. You introduced the whole panel. A+ so far. Now you got to keep it rolling for like 45 more minutes.
Oh boy! All right, that works.
Nice try too.
Thank you. Oh yes, NHL ties. If you're watching, all right, I need some critique here.
Get the Oak method in there. Get that head
yes.
out of the way.
Sorry. Here. Yes, the Oak method. There we go. We know how important it is to talk with the. Well, when I went to the game on the other night, it was like me and Gentry were sitting in 210. Like, holy crap, Scott Oak's here. It's like I could totally tell by the mic being held up like this. So,
Inventor of the Oak method.
Yes.
Proprietor.
So if you want to join us, be a part of the show, use the hashtag PucknologyAfterDark, or you can tweet us. Any of the accounts work. At PuckGuy14, at AJ_Strong, at ChrisGWS, at JAlexander46, at Pucknology. Now you have everything. All right, guys. As Brodie does a masterful job in
just working on the tempo.
seconds.
It's the hardest part. You gotta get
that was the hardest part tonight. All right, AJ, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on a desperately needed 2 points tonight.
Niemi. That's about all you can say tonight. That was amazing. You know that I'm not a huge Niemi guy. I would love to see Stalock get more of a look. But Niemi stole the show tonight, and even in the shootout, made some incredible saves. Number one star in my book. Just awesome. Awesome performance tonight.
Chris, your thoughts?
I'm in the same boat as AJ. A lot of the way Niemi was just huge for this all night long. The guy that blew me away from the Penguins, though, was Malkin. He was just a monster out there. I mean, he didn't get on the score sheet, but he was driving play. He was a big part of the reason why the Penguins are dominating possession so much. It was a good game. It definitely gave me a few heart attacks, but they really needed those 2 points just one way or the other. Regardless of what happens out of town, they had to have that if they even wanted to keep talking about playing come April.
And Gentry, you're the tieless one tonight.
Yeah.
I was going to try to rush over a tie to you in time, but oh well. Your
He's
thoughts?
Getting suspended. I got 3 games by NHL ties for that.
All right, well,
Have to
I'm
be
getting
3
suspended,
shows.
and Rafi Torres gets a 15-game suspension as well. My thoughts on the game, it was what you wouldn't expect, a tight defensive game with mostly offensive players. Great penalty kill in overtime. That really was you got to think that was a confidence boost for the team in teal, and I'm gonna say Han is a bit of a curse. He jinxed it for us. He kept talking about how Crosby didn't score against the Sharks, and Crosby scored tonight. But overall, awesome game. Got to give it a thumbs up.
You got to give it to him because, okay, he gets that 1 goal. He's still smarting after hanging that -5 around his neck the last time he was here. So, okay, he gets a goal this time.
Absolutely. Brodie, your thoughts on tonight?
I just think you look back at the trend for San Jose and all their recent losses, whether it was Detroit, they had a 2-1 lead, they blew. It was Ottawa, a 2-1 lead, they blew. Tonight, the 1-0 lead stood for the majority of the game. When the Sharks scored it, when Nieto scored it, was a key, pivotal time, obviously. So if they had lost it tonight, I think it just would have fallen in that same group of really, really unfortunate losses where they gave points away. Tonight, they end up getting the full 2 points, but even just to take this game to bonus hockey, pick up at least one, and get the second one the way they did. I mean, to echo all the great points you guys have already made, I didn't want to duplicate those, but I just think the trend of them finally hanging on to a lead that they had, not an early start, but scoring first that they had, is a huge confidence booster for this team, even though Sidney Crosby gets a goal. And I think it took that plus the way that Niemi played tonight. He was, to me, the reason why they get 2 points.
Absolutely. I mean, you knew going into the game that Pittsburgh was going to be coming on fire. They had a nice, tight playoff-style battle with LA on Saturday night. The Sharks had to get up for this game, and that's what they usually do with the big opponents coming into town. In that first goal, with Chris Tierney centering behind the net to Matt Nieto, that was a sweet play. Tierney just seems to start getting more and more confidence with his play now that he's going to be staying up here. AJ, I mean, do you think down the road that we could be as much as we have for centers, that this guy could be down the road when people move on, he could be one of those guys that could be a playmaking center?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. If you go into the future, what are we going to have once Marlowe and Thornton finally hang him up? Down the middle, you're going to have, Pavelski, Couture, Hurdle. So I don't see why he wouldn't fit in with that situation. But the Sharks, historically, over the last decade, since Wilson's been at the helm, have been very center-heavy. We've rarely seen natural wingers on this team. He's loved his centers. They seem to be very versatile. So, it's plug and play. Plug them in, let them go, and see what you get. And for me, the biggest thing is chemistry. They find it. That's all it takes, really.
Right. I think a lot of okay. I think I wasn't sure if I was on mute or not. Way to go, Eric.
What just happened to Brodie?
You guys can you see this too? I was wondering if I was the only one who could see this.
Wow.
Watch, it even tilts when I tilt my head too.
Did that come with the new Apple Watch?
Yeah. Oh man! After seeing that,
Only the 10K version.
I want it so bad. Let me take the dog face off. You know what? To comment on something you guys just said. Oh wait, maybe I don't know how to take it off. Maybe you're gonna have to.
Oh, you're stuck with it.
How do I get this off? Hangout toolbox, take off face. Well, anyway, I think if you look at shots, I can't even do this seriously. If you guys look at shots on goal tonight, Hurdle had 5, Melker Karlsson had 4, and the rest of the Sharks, even close to that, had 2. So, I mean, you're starting to see it if you haven't already. The younger guys kind of leading the way or getting the most chances. How do I get rid of this thing?
Oh my goodness, we need to find out. Okay, Google Effects. I'll help you out. Chris, talk about Brodie.
Okay, so I'll talk and distract here. Couple things on Tierney, like you were saying, AJ. I've been a fan of Tierney pretty much since we drafted him. I like the pick. I believe that was 2012 we picked him. I was actually disappointed early in the season when we sent him down to Worcester. I know we wanted to get him a little more seasoning maybe where he could play more minutes, but I thought he was actually pretty impressive early on, and he's even coming to his own even more now. I like having as many centers as possible because Drew Menda, I remember on one of his many times he's on with Mr. T actually asked him, why are the Sharks so good at face-offs? And he said, simply, they cheat. It's because they have so many centers. They have a center playing winger,
yep.
And then what they do is, first guy, he comes in as hard as he can, and he definitely gets as close to, getting it and get kicked out. Oh, well, next guy just steps in, doesn't miss a beat. And next guy, maybe plays a little more passively because you don't want to get a penalty for doing that twice, but you can win a lot more face-offs that way. And I think that's a big part of Wilson's strategy there.
Not just that, but you also gain yourself a little bit more time, obviously, when the official kicks you out, whether it's your team or whether it's just a game dictating it. I mean, you're getting another 10, 15 seconds of breathing in. There's a lot of advantages, and you're absolutely right. If you have Joe Thornton and Joe Pavelski on the same line, or even a Patty or a Logan, and that combination of two, maybe sometimes even three natural centermen there, why not cheat? I mean, what honestly do you have to lose? You know?
Yeah, and it reminds me of back in 2011 when we had the helicopter line of Kyle Wellwood, Pavelski, and Torrey Mitchell. Yes, I'm going back. And how effective they were in the playoffs going forward. And you look at that, and it's like center depth is important. I mean, you've seen great teams win with great defense and great center depth. And, if you can have that, you have something to look forward to in the future, especially with Turney. Just get it. All you need to do is you got to get him some line mates that he can build chemistry with, and you go from there.
And that's a good point. With the chemistry of this, and we've always talked about the team being a very, very chemistry-heavy team. When you have the lines change around as frequently as they can be, does it help create more chemistry with other players, or will it be more so, okay, I got to relearn who I'm working with down the road?
I think a lot of the players will tell you they take a tremendous amount of pride in being flexible and being able to work with pretty much anybody on the team. And that's part of being a professional. That goes to the root of what these guys are all about, wanting to be that guy that can be counted on. But I think in the course of a season, and that's why you've seen Todd pretty much keep, in terms of lines of three, keep a lot of times two guys together and then alternate in that third winger. I just think it's the trend of the NHL this day and age that although teams do pride themselves on flexibility, that knowing the instincts, knowing the unspoken communication between two players of where I'm going to be, where Eric's at, where AJ's at on the ice. I mean, it's something that only comes with repetition and only comes to me in real life game experience. And I mean, heck, that's why the Sharks power play. And I know it's had its struggles at times this season. If you look at the chemistry when those five are on the ice, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous at times. And even minus a Dan Boyle this year, who, you want to call him the quarterback. But, I mean, you still look at that group of five. And I think you guys heard on the Epic series when Todd McCullough was asking Brent Burns about it, is there a better five on the ice? Maybe percentage-wise there has been this year, but in terms of chemistry and knowing where everybody's at the same time, I don't think so.
Now you want to talk about a segue. Let's get to the power play tonight. They were 0 for 3, unfortunately, which could have been the difference, but they killed 3, so that's huge. But as Randy Hahn did point out tonight, the second unit hasn't potted one since January, so that's obviously something they need to look at. The defense, to me, is still I don't know if it's a communication thing or whatnot. Maybe it's needing to get Irwin back out there. He seemed to be the spark plug. What did you guys think about the defensive pairings tonight?
Well, AJ, if I can, well, I can get a pipe. Oh no, wait, that's an iPad.
Hold on, Brodie's about to pontificate.
Oh, wait a second. Why don't I just get the playoff beard going right now?
There you go.
So what are we talking about again? Oh yeah. So what I think is, I know, I'm just kidding. What I think is another measure of the power play struggles is, and I'd have to go back and look at the stats and the math on this, but how many times this season have we heard that the Sharks have been on the man advantage for 2 full minutes and didn't get a single shot off? I bet you that's happened this year more than any other year. Now, is that the first unit's doing? Is that the division of who is on the ice time between the two units during 2 minutes? I don't know, but I feel like we've heard that this season more than any other. And I think as much as I just praise their chemistry and that sixth sense on the ice, I mean, I think you've seen a lot of times this year where they don't look dangerous at all. Not just that, the goal, obviously the power play to score on it, but the other goal would be to kind of put that team in their own end for even the 30 to 45 seconds after that and try and get another goal or try and get another good look at a goal, while you've kind of cut them down and depleted. So obviously it hasn't been working out in that sense this year. We had a power play tonight that you saw there that San Jose had no shots on. So that stuff like that is a bit concerning.
And what did you? Oh, go ahead, AJ. Sorry.
I was just gonna for those of or for the people that are actually watching right now, you probably Brodie grows it in so fast that you probably won't notice when he turns off the graphic.
He grows facial hair faster than Joe Thornton apparently.
No, Joe reminds me all the time. He goes, "Hey, bro, you can't grow it like me, hey, bud, hey, bud." My Joe impersonation.
Oh, you know what? That's actually a cool thing to segue into. How was the tasting with the Sharks?
It was excellent. It just so happened to be the very first night. My voice is now on the rebound, but my voice was declining that night. And so a lot of people either mistakenly thought I had drank too much wine, or most of the players said, their first thing is, "You sick?" Because then they didn't want to stay like 50 feet away, you know. But no, it was none of that. It just can't explain it why it's gone away a couple times. Really, this last year I've lost it. That is not a good quality for a broadcaster. You guys remember the game a couple years ago? Randy announced where he basically was like me, he had no voice.
Oh, I still have the photo where he's got the little tag in his bed. He's crying, and then Drew's he's throttling Drew. That was fantastic.
That was nothing like that because he had to be on the air for 2.5 straight hours like that. I'm only doing 30 minutes at a time, trying to toss it to Curtis or Hetty or Kersey or whoever I can as fast as possible. But losing your voice. I'd say the only thing worse than that would be like some type of facial injury, like that you couldn't cover with makeup, like a huge, welt or a black eye or something like that. It would losing your voice is probably the worst.
Well, you always wear the cage on the ice, right?
Yo, got to protect the moneymaker out there, You kidding me? I mean, there's some rogue elbows and pucks and sticks, but some rogue elbows flying around in those fantasy games.
And speaking of which, I got to ask you, why are you getting called for diving? You're a fantasy shark, not a fantasy Canuck.
Oh!
Wow.
Wow, we just went after dark, didn't we?
And you thought I was a good Canadian boy. No, you know what? I think that's just a tradition. It's also the same tradition that they put me in the shootout situation or a penalty shot situation, and they know that I have basically no moves. So they basically give me a free penalty shot knowing that I won't be able to score.
Oh,
so
come on.
It's kind of like annual traditions.
I'm actually, based on your appearance today with Damon, with all this talk about hockey, I'm surprised the accent isn't thicker.
You know what? It's like he asked about it too, and I think sometimes, I don't know if it's osmosis or no, I don't even know what the word I'm searching for is here. It's just
you just absorb it.
Attrition? No, that's not it.
No, I think it's osmosis is the word you're looking for.
Yeah,
It's from hanging out with those guys.
It's just when you're in that environment, it's like if you lived in London for 6 months, you'd probably talk about your tea and crumpets or whatever. It's like you'd name yourself Nigel Batten in the spare time, but it's just I can't describe it. But I think hanging around those guys, the one thing I'll never do is say organization or offense.
Who's in a boot?
It's more like a boat, like a boat. We were talking to Bakes the other day about that, about how he really sells his abouts, really hard. Who was it? I think it was Owen. Owen Nolan was giving it to him. It was like, you're really going on the deep Canadian end there. Bakes was like, hey, I've lost most of my words, so if that's my one, that's my reminder word to you that I'm Canadian. So.
Just a little hint of Canadian, eh? They'll just take you very far in these days. All of a sudden, you were born and raised in Berkeley, and then all of a sudden, you turn into Saskatoon, eh?
It's exactly right.
Freaking hosers. So that we're now at this point. Whoa!
Well, hello. Whoa! Wow! It's a live audience all of a sudden.
I can play sounds here.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh. One of the things I was going to say, one of the things that we didn't get into really is there were a couple between the Vancouver game and a little bit of tonight. What do you guys think about the quote unquote creative officiating? Hurdle takes one to the grill tonight. There's no call on the shot to
You're
the
never gonna have me back after this. This is my last invitation onto the show.
But Hurdle takes one to the grill tonight. There's no call yet. Burrows hits himself in the face on Saturday, and Hurdle goes to the box. So,
Yeah.
what's going on here with some of this officiating as of late? Because I knew there was a couple trip calls tonight that didn't go the Sharks' way.
How about last game and the early whistle on the Wingles puck that was behind the goal line? I mean, so I feel like a lot of times you have to attribute some of this to the game being so fast. And I don't know, I mean, you guys, how much time you've spent just as close as possible, whether it's down on the glass or just, like where I used to stand and the handicap ramp at SAP and watch games down there. It's just sometimes things happen so fast that I don't even think the trained human eye can keep up with it, and especially when officials, and obviously 4 on the ice, but so many things to look at ahead of the play, behind the play, in the play. I don't fault them for missing things anymore, even when it looks blatantly obvious, like that was right in front of you. I just think when they are speed things that happen that fast, there's tough things to miss. But I'm not, again, that's their one job is to get it right. And we nowadays have the benefit of technology that maybe we're not using enough. But I do give the officials a little bit more leeway probably than most, just the experience I've seen and had with how fast these things happen, and the glimpse that you get from the angle you get. Sometimes it's like you put them in an impossible situation to get it right 100% of the time.
Well, have you noticed, at least I have, over the last 2 years as a fan watching, it seemed like, I want to say 2011, 2012, there were an overabundance of intent to blow
the whistle, yeah, right.
And those seem to have been eliminated since last season, and you don't see those nearly as much as you used to, unless, of course, you're Tommy Wingles. Then you see it a lot.
He seems like the guy that's cursed in all of this, huh? Like, are we counting? Is that at least 3, right? Is that 4?
4.
Paging Shark stats.
I can call Darren down and ask him. Yeah. I think, and I'm wondering too, especially with the intent to blow the whistle effect, I'm wondering if officials have now gotten cautious of that and given the play the extra, the benefit of the extra half second of doubt to actually, take hand to mouth, blow whistle. But I don't know whether it's that or whether it's just sheer luck. I mean, you guys know that those small rule changes they made going into this season, even the small stuff like, for it to be a kick, I mean, you really have to show a distinct kicking motion more so than before, not just changing the angle of your skate blade. So the NHL wants more scoring. So I think they've told the officials, like, you really, really, really have to see it, the puck iced before you blow that whistle, or covered before you blow that whistle.
Almost have it like an MLS tryout, pretty much, for it to not count as a goal.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, one of your things that you do when you are on the radio on 95.7 The Game is what's on your iPod. And one of the things, and we'll just give you a short one, because AJ and I, since we've kind of been like the longest fans since day one, I've kind of met Gentry into this whole hockey euphoria, which he's forever grateful for, right, Gent?
Yes. You are my hockey dad.
What am I, chopped liver over here? I've been around a while.
Well, yes, that's true. You've been around for a while, too. And of course,
I'm just the youth of this whole show here. So.
Oh, boy.
Let's not get Brodie into a rant about being upset about how much older he is than Brent Burns.
Hey, I'm older than Brodie.
I look at Burnsy all the time. I'm thinking, wow, he's definitely got more life and life experience and age to him than I do. And then I check his bio. I'm like, wait a second. It's not right.
It's one of those things. When we had the Stadium Series access to the locker room, oh boy, he broke out his iPod. Hang on. It's one of those things when we were at the Stadium Series and we were in the locker room, and I forget who she was talking to, but Burnsy's wife, all of a sudden, is like, you guys have no idea what it's like. It's like having 2 extra kids with him around. And then all of a sudden, he's like, woo, woo, woo. You see him jumping around. And, I mean, by the way, happy birthday, Burnsy. It is your dirty 30 today. So, anyways, getting back to what we were talking about. AJ, Brodie, Chris, you all have been there for a very long time. One of my go-to things.
Been here forever. Go ahead.
No. Excuse me, Sonny, do you like to find somebody? Anyways, one of the things, since next year's the 25th anniversary, and I'm pretty sure AJ and Brodie, I think I've both told you through Twitter, that they should break out this song when they break out the original jerseys.
Oh, we're going 2 unlimited
head to this.
Oh, yes. Oh. It's pumping over there?
You know, I gotta get my workout in. Alright, I'll spare you all. But, I mean, as we get closer to the 25th anniversary, I would think that, even for one game, I know I'd be pushing it for like 12 or 41, but even for one game to just have them skate out to that, I don't know, bring out Igor Larionov, or try to get the entire OV line back together, or that whole 5-man unit with Ozelinch and Norton, and just have a massive, awesome retro night. I think that would be, hands down, one of the best things that would happen next season, besides, you know, winning the Stanley Cup, of course.
I'm totally with you on the, 90, I guess, 3 throwback season. I mean, I know you want to go back to 91, I guess.
True.
But
nobody wants to remember that year.
Yeah.
Or 92, 93.
I think maybe you take it to the first year in San Jose, like, kind of throw it back to that era. I mean, who really wants to replicate anything from the Cow Palace? Which, by the way, is something that I don't know if I can regret it. I was like, 10, 11 years old when they played there. But I wish in life one experience that I had was going to a Sharks game at the Cow Palace. But then again, I think tickets were very hard to come by. I definitely wasn't just into it enough yet to go. But my first game actually was the first year. I think it was right around December of that first year, 93, in San Jose Arena. But I would throw it back to that year, and it was so classic. Not just what happened in that postseason, but I think just the atmosphere of people realizing that this city had a brand new facility, had a team that was obviously exciting as the year went on, but it was like opening up a gift, that was several years in the making. I mean, I would throw it. It's weird to say like throw it back to their first year, but you really want to throw it back to like their third season,
No, yeah. I absolutely agree. I remember there was an electricity. I remember downtown San Jose. At that time, there were certain festivals they would do. They would have what was called the Sofa Festival, or South of First, and they'd have sofas all over First Avenue laid out, and with music bands going, and it was the Tapestry and Talent stuff that they used to do in downtown, and it was that Sofa Festival that they were handing out flyers to people saying, come check it out, we're having the open house. They had just completed building the Shark Tank, and had opened it up, and they were letting people coming in all weekend, just checking out, looking around. And it was also really nice too, because during that festival, I believe it was towards the end of July, so it was nice and cool inside there.
Yeah. You know what? One thing I remember about the end of that year, well, the playoffs actually, was when they used to have the game watching parties.
Absolutely.
And then the open skates, they would have watch the playoff game. I had to go rent skates. My parents rented skates from me, I think from the Fremont Isoplex, whatever. And then, watch the game on the big screen. And it was cool because it felt like you were almost at a game and all the, the other fans there. And then to go out and skate on that rink was to me back then like the ultimate cool thing. Like I just wanted to soak it in. We were just doing laps, but I wanted to soak that in forever. So I wish some stuff. I know logistically, like the building is used a little bit now more often, And boy, I hope the Sharks are in the playoffs, obviously, for a lot of different reasons for me personally, every year. But I wish that someday they'd get back to doing that. And then, heck, I think it would be awesome if instead of us doing, like our road pre and post game shows from our studio, boy, how cool would that be to do our whole pre and post game from the arena where the fans are? They get to see themselves, up on the jumbotron while we're doing it. So, those are things. Sometimes people say, why doesn't CSN do that? Well, it's out there. Like, the ideas sometimes they're hard to pull off sometimes. Sometimes they're just impossible to pull off, like logistically, schedule-wise, resource-wise. But don't think that people aren't thinking of those things, or at least people aren't pitching those ideas to them.
Right, and especially with the playoffs times, I can imagine that you guys have Giants,
Yes.
A's, we're going to have the Warriors in the playoffs.
Right.
Let's hope we can get into the playoffs. You also have the Quakes, and I don't know if it's separated or whatnot with the Sacramento Kings and such, but you got all over the place, and you're using your spillover plus channel and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could bet it can get really crazy and such.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing, like you mentioned, 5 Giants, A's, Warriors, Sharks, plus now Kings. We're doing 5 teams on 2 channels, and we're built pretty well to cover everything. It's just when they all converge like that, we get April and October are definitely our tough points.
Hey, you want to talk about first world problems? I still got a jersey in my closet that's got a sports channel patch on it. Man. Remember the days when the home games were on Sports Channel and the away games were on 36. Okay, I remember those days quite well. We had a few of those coolest games of the week parties at the bar that I was working at. But going back to that first season at the Tank, I remember you could not walk down Santa Clara Street, most of San Jose. You can walk 5 feet without seeing somebody wearing teal. It was amazing. I was in an airport in Dallas, Texas, flying home, and there was some sort of local sports program on in the airport talking about how San Jose had succumbed to teal fever, that it was insane. You couldn't get over it. And when they would do the street rallies before the games, it was a madhouse. People were showing, they didn't even need tickets, and it was insane.
Eric, have you gotten rated on your tie? I mean, you did that at the beginning of the show, right? Like, you held it up.
I did.
You gave NHL ties a nice screenshot opportunity. Maybe you should do it again.
Try to. Hang on.
You know what?
Right.
Come on, Eric. Well, first off, one of the things I wanted to ask Eric is if he owned any clothing that wasn't teal. But the other thing I wanted to find out is, how is Generation X not just screenshotting the vast majority of this? He's got to be going nuts right now.
I'm sure he's working his Photoshop stuff.
Yes, he's already. Well, Brodie also helped him out with the dog face on. Which, by the way, if you are wanting to join us, let me throw it up here again. Use the hashtag Pucknology After Dark.
Stunning production value.
Wow,
That's
how
right.
did you do that?
Photoshop is a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's Google or Hangout Toolbox. That's where we get all our lower thirds, and I can add on stuff and everything. Hashtag Pucknology After Dark. You can tweet any of us. Thank you. Okay. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Have we just found Pucknology's After Dark's version of Slappy?
This is yes. This is the mascot.
You guys want some Sharky stories?
Oh yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Your BFF.
That guy's insane.
BFF Sharky.
I'm sworn to so much secrecy, it's not even funny.
That's all right. Nobody's watching this.
Yeah, nobody's watching.
He might be.
Yeah, that's a catch.
You know what? I'll tell you this. Like, his job is a mascot, and Sharky does so. I mean, Sharky is the hardest. When they say he's the hardest working fish in the NHL, like, that to me is no lie, because I mean, every time I see I'm on social media or I get a text, Sharky's working. Let's just say that. So I mean, in a day and age where a mascot could just be at home all those odd hours. I mean, he's doing stuff that's unbelievably scheduled. I mean, months in advance. Birthday party, graduation, team event. Sharky. What I mean, he's everywhere. So
no, it's funny you point that out.
Yeah,
he was at Chris's wedding.
He was at my wedding. Yep.
Nice. Did you keep him away from the bar because you could drink like a fish? I heard.
Where's the rim shot now? There it is.
There we go.
He'll be here all week. Tip your waitresses and enjoy the veal.
We're on the clock here.
Oh, okay. No, in fact, he's uber busy. I remember we have a.
Oh man, what you guys can't see is that I've got the video going over here.
It's
amazing.
You just made Gentry's night with Taylor Swift.
I tried to. There's a group of us that get together at a friend's house. This guy built a tiki bar in his backyard. It's just this insane party every week. He's got Sunday ticket going on 3 different TVs, and we tried to get Sharky to come out this last season for opening day, and he was busy, and we had called 3 months in advance. This guy's calendar is booked. I can't believe there's only one. I can't believe it.
How do you know that?
Here's the wedding day picture.
Oh, nice. Nice. He even brought the tuxedo.
Yeah, you dressed up.
I guess trying to get Sharky to come to my graduation party at Shark's Ice is
there we go. Now. And then nice. Oh, it's and I had to. I still haven't proposed or anything like that to the girlfriend yet because she's waiting, and of course.
Hope she's not watching this.
No pressure.
I need the ring to bling from the other side of the room, bud, as I get that a lot. But I said there's a few rules that we have to have. One of which is one of the wedding colors has to be teal.
Of course.
Of course. Sharky has to be present at the wedding.
Okay, can I just whisper you something?
Okay.
Dude, you're doing it wrong. You let her have that one day. Then after that, when you want to make the man cave filled with sharks, she can't say anything because she got her one day. I figured that out early.
See, here's the thing. Her thing would have been at Disneyland with the Cinderella castle and the colors.
Do it.
I'm not wearing a purple and pink tuxedo though.
No, do it. If that's what she wants, dude, do it. It's just for one day. Hockey seasons last forever.
No.
Do it.
Okay, first and foremost, you've already failed in the whole marriage thing. You never tell your wife no.
Oh, boy.
So, I actually just joked about Sharky. I was like, hey, we can have Sharky at our wedding, He does appearances. It's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, serious? What? Okay.
You're like, no wonder I'm marrying you.
You found the one.
Yes. No, I love her to death. And when we get introduced at our reception, this is what we're walking into.
Oh, shit.
Just saying.
Hey. Hey.
I mean, is that
we could probably line up for you either Danny Miller or Randy Hahn, Ruzi, I think. We could get, if you need, like... Yeah.
No. Get James Hetfield,
breaking the action.
please.
No. Could you imagine how awesome that would be? I just want... If anything, not that he would be there to officiate or anything like that, but if Danny Miller was kind enough to just put a little audio thing together for you for your first night together with your wife, where it's like, Eric shoots, he scored! You don't understand. I know Danny from way back. He used to be with KRTY. They did some gigs with us at Cheers in Sunnyvale for some of the coolest nights of the week party. Incredibly nice guy, very cool dude, and he was always a blast there. And I actually just want to go back, cover the 25th anniversary a little bit more. We've talked about it before in previous podcasts, but definitely things they have to do is whether we're all hoping. I don't know if Brodie has any inside info, but we're all hoping that the black jerseys are like taken out somewhere in Alviso and destroyed. We're tired of the black jerseys. I would love for them to switch the black Thursday nights to retro night where they wear their inaugural jerseys. I know that the Shark Tank did banner sales on the 20th anniversary when they brought back the inaugural jerseys. Even though the team didn't wear them that year, they were selling them in the Shark Tank, and they sold like gangbusters. I could see that needs to be a huge thing. And as Eric mentioned, coming out to 2 Unlimited in the old sweaters would just be fantastic. Not that they're going to make some subtle tweaks to the scoreboard to make it look more retro, because nobody wants to see that. But it would be cool to see them just bring back a few things. One of my personal favorites, 4 in the net pizza you get. I think that would be awesome. Remember when they used to do because I haven't seen it in a long time, the Zamboni races? It was always the Pirates Section 209 Zamboni.
Oh, yes. It's like the Sharks version of the good old A's dot racing. That was awesome.
Yeah, something like that. Just really make a nod to the history of the team. I mean, it was, like I said, going 94, when I think about it, it still gives me chills just how electric the South Bay was. San Jose that was an amazing time. Going into San Jose Live, and there was nothing but teal. It was fantastic.
Right. And where was it where we only saw this shirt all over the place?
Absolutely.
Wow. I can tell you guys for sure, at least, that the team, I don't think they've gotten that far to next season of, promotions or things they might do, but...
You know what? Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
right.
I actually, I entered one of the Sharks contests online and received a call within a week from a guy. It seemed like his biggest deal was to see if I was interested in a Shark Pack or whatnot, and that was fine. And then it was 20 questions, and it was, what did I want to see? He prefaced it. He said, as you know, or you may or may not know, next year is the 25th anniversary of the Sharks. So is there anything that you're looking for out of that? Is there anything, So I was actually given kind of a Q&A, so at least they are doing a little bit of research on it.
Oh, yeah. No, and to your point, I've talked to a couple people in the organization real high up that are very well aware that 25 needs to be commemorated properly, celebrated properly. And here's one thing, too. I think even if a team misses out on the playoffs this year, which I think would be disappointing for a number of different reasons, just in the way that the whole year is played out, I think there is something to look back on and to say 10 straight years of doing this. You don't respect it until it's unfortunately over. Now, I'm not saying that as a preface to anything, but I think what needs to be commemorated next year is, there hasn't been a cup yet, and if this year doesn't bring one, there won't be one. But right. I think the amount of success that an expansion franchise has had basically in 25 years, to the point where I think one of the biggest faults of maybe Shark fans is expecting the playoffs every year. To get to that point in 25 years, and for as many runs as they've had, it is pretty incredible. I mean, again, you can't fully celebrate it because you don't have the cup to fall back on, but and I don't think there's anything to hang your head about in the 25 years so far. Look at any other franchise in 25 years. Yeah, some do have cups. I mean, many do have cups, but many also have unbelievably poor stretches of seasons in a row that the Sharks haven't really had, and especially, like I said, starting from where they did. So to get back to the main point, they definitely do They do have some things in mind. They are going to get to start working on, doing next year right. And I would have to imagine that those original sweaters are part of it. The music, I know Eric and I are saying that as kind of, I guess, half joking, but I mean mostly serious. And I think the team will consider that as well too. And I agree too, because you see them wearing that Stadium Series jersey, I think, once since the outdoor game, and I think they have maybe.
And I think they wear it one more time. I think
one
it's
or two.
Saturday.
Yeah, one or two more. I mean, one or even two more times still. I can't remember, but I think you would see them wear the throwbacks as the alternate jersey. I would think. Although I do know that the blacks, they still sell well, and they're obviously, something that some fans like. Me personally, I don't dislike them, but I think I've seen enough. I'd rather see something else for next year, but that's just my preference.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it feels because when they kept wearing them in the playoffs, we were always prided ourselves as the team in teal. We were one of those. It's a unique color, and we were only ones in the NHL that really had that. So when you saw them go with the black jerseys in the playoffs, it kind of left a sour taste, and especially when they did their redesign of the jerseys, last season, and then they still went with the black armor. I was like, then what was the point of the redesign of the jersey?
Yeah, well, the point of the redesign was because the reason that they were going with those black sweaters for the playoffs is because the players specifically said, and I mean this is coming on the record, off the record, directly from them, is that they felt lighter, and they felt like during the course of 60 minutes, by minutes 56 to 58, it just felt like lighter at the end of the game, and that's why you saw in their new, this current version of jerseys, they took off the caps on the shoulders, and they took off a lot of the piping. They just wanted to breathe a lot easier.
It's not just lighter; it's also less stiff too. Like if you if you just wear both and kind of move your shoulders, you can kind of feel that.
Mm-hmm.
No, for me and you can see it over Eric's left shoulder. That jersey with the orange just makes me. I hated it when they announced that. The jersey to the left of it, if you're looking at it, yes, that one. To me, that will always be my favorite. I don't know why. Like the inaugural one, it does have a very retro feel, but that particular jersey that Eric is holding felt so different from anything else anybody else in the league was doing that it just, for some reason, really stood out to me. And I always thought the logo was incredibly iconic. I didn't feel a need to change it. I understand, a lot of it's all money driven, so they want to, change. We got to always keep selling more and more swag. So I can understand that. But just the introduction of orange was just, it was especially when at the time, consider the time that they introduced orange to the jersey. By far, the Sharks' biggest rivals were the Ducks. How do you introduce your biggest rival's main color to your deal? But, Eric, I'm going to do you one better on this shirt. This is straight up 1994, bro.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so deal with this one.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's when I had the long flow going. I was Mr. Metal, dude. I was rock and roll, but recognize the shirt. I was having a great time at somebody's party, and I was tired of them taking photos, so I just started making faces. But recognize the shirt, because that shirt, that party, that was from 1994, man.
I was just gonna ask, were you a roadie for Metallica by any chance?
Nope, not at that point. I have been a DJ for. I've been a DJ for over 20 years, but no, I wasn't a roadie. But that is too funny. In fact, you know what? I need to go. Brodie, when did you say you graduated? Like 97 or something? What was it?
99.
99?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I swear to God, I'm going to go back. I'm going to look it through my library. I've got like 20,000 songs from DJing all this time. I swear to God, I'm going to put together like a little 96 through 99, 2000 medley. Like a nice little 45-minute power mix for when you have to go hit the treadmill or something and throw that on there. Now, you also have to take into account that era. There was some bad music going on. The Spice Girls for number one. The Macarena was just coming out of that.
Wait. Say what you will about the Macarena, but leave the Spice Girls out of this.
Chelena likes them. I believe I saw it earlier.
Yes, Chelena Goldman loves those Spice Girls.
I read an article the other day that proclaimed 1999 was the best year in music. It was actually a BuzzFeed production, so it was put together really well. Like it listed so many things, it just took me back.
I would love to know what the best. I'd have to look it up. What the best-selling album of that year was. That would be interesting.
It had to be Backstreet Boys or NSYNC, one of those two.
Yeah, I would think so.
Because getting jiggy with it.
No. I'm talking full-length album, not like a song.
That's what I'm saying. He had what was that, Big Willie style or something?
Yeah, but it really only had the one hit. Spice Girls, that had a ton of hits. Backstreet Boys had a ton of hits. NSYNC had a ton of hits. But if you look at 2000, you had Linkin Park was huge with Hybrid Theory. That was a massive album.
Well,
just me?
Yeah, that was just you, bro. Nobody else was listening to Limp Bizkit.
I found the article.
We found the article.
Britney Spears, obviously, so just look at the artists that came out in 1999. Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, let me scroll down. Shania Twain dropped "Man, I Feel Like a Woman," and "That Don't Impress Me Much."
That album was that was "Come On Over," right?
Jennifer Lopez had I list a couple songs here.
"Waiting for Tonight."
That was that's one.
Man.
If You Had My Love.
Yep.
Blink 182. What's My Age Again? All the Small Things. Lenny Kravitz had "Fly Away," An American Woman.
Good.
Mambo number 5. Come on.
Yeah.
We haven't even got into NSYNC yet. We haven't even got into 98 Degrees. Eminem, My Name Is.
Yep.
See, this reminds me of Z95.7.
Yes.
I missed those.
Which guess what? I now have a job on Z95.7. I take it back to that all the time.
The number one album of that year actually was "Millennium" by Backstreet Boys. So when we said it's Backstreet Boys, there you go.
You know what? We're gonna have to take this offline at a different time. I'm sure we're like dropping off watchers like flies at this point.
It's like get back to hockey.
We'll segue back to hockey.
This is like
I'm telling you right now, Brodie and I could get into a music discussion that would last the entire off season.
I mean, did Cisco come out back then too at some point?
Oh, Thong Song was 2000 if I remember.
Yeah, there he was. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, that was 2000 2001 if I remember correctly.
My year State.
So anyway, Nashville's coming to town on Wednesday.
Yeah.
You want to play Carrie Underwood? Is that what you want? Oh no, wait, Mike Fisher. Never mind.
Right.
Oh.
So, do you guys read the tweets here at all? Because I'm getting.
Yes, we should probably take to the tweets. Before that, since we're still on the retro thing, if you haven't seen it, one of my friends, Charles, sent this to me. I posted it on Pucknology. That's on the season ticket brochure. That's probably one of 145 logos that the Sharks will be using next season for their 25th anniversary. Hopefully, it's somewhere on the jersey. I don't know where they could put it. Maybe on the right side next to like a captaincy. But with that being said, let's take it to the tweets. Well, of course, you've been using hashtag Pucknology After Dark. King Shark 49. Black armor to me will always be associated with the loss to LA, who also wears black. The Sharks are teal.
Yeah, I still never understood the idea of wearing black jerseys against LA when that's their primary color. That just did not make a lot of sense to me, and I got so tired of hearing that, oh, teal doesn't show up on TV. Well, you know what? I see it just fine.
Generation X-Wing, who's our fellow Photoshop mastery, says he can't bring himself to Photoshop Brodie Brazil with the whole dog monocle beard thing, guys. For now.
Way too much respect for the bro dog.
Well, I mean, it's Bro.
You know what? You know what though? Let's be honest. I don't know about you guys. I think the four of us, I don't know who's doing like the backline production on the CSM pregame shows. I think each one of us would easily like send Brodie like $100 PayPal that he like just slides to the production guy to put that same dog face on Curtis Brown for like 5 seconds. That would be spectacular.
Two
You know,
things.
check this out from the
First
crispy
of all-
churro.
Oh,
Money Brazil right here.
two things. Number one, I'd put it on Kersey first, and two, we don't have that type of technology. Like Google Hangouts has more technology than we don't have the ability to. Like, can you imagine if on Postgame Live I could just say, "Hey, welcome back to Postgame Live, Brodie Brazil, Curtis Brown." Oh, hold your applause, please.
We're not worthy.
That'd be so money.
Oh my god. Oh, Crispy Churro with the 0. You just won the internet tonight. Let's see. Alex Sharks _ fan 27. He says the same thing about having Rock and Roll Part 2. Although I don't think he can do the live version right now because he got in big trouble. Not sure. Let's see.
I throughout all these seasons that the Sharks have been around since I've been watching games, I don't ever remember like the actual Gary Glitter version being played. I only remember the organ version that we've heard all this time.
It was, I think, like the first season at the Cow Palace. And the only reason I know that is I've seen that replay of Pat Falloon tying it with no time left against Montreal. And I recall them playing that over and over again. But I digress, and I need to get a life. But, let's see, I'm trying to see what else I have on here. I'm trying to see. Yuki Sano, she's very jealous that she can't watch. Yes, please, if you're driving, don't watch us. Save it for the replay.
No, I need the ratings. I don't care where you're watching. I want as many views. If you can get a sling box and watch CSN from your car, please do it. Even if you're driving. No, just kidding.
Yes. If I could watch.
Dude, like literally, this is becoming that this show is now starting to have better production value than the NBC Sports Network at this point. This is fantastic.
Oh.
You know why? Because we don't have Jeremy Roenick whining about Patrick Marleau. That's the big part of it. You know, that's a lot.
That was just a gutless comment right there. Just.
Hold on. Okay, Brodie, we're gonna play a quick game. Name one of the people in this photo, and one of them can't be me. Take a look. How's that? Can you name that goaltender?
I like him. That's the guy that I grew up. I want to say like out of all the guys you could like as a kid that kind of got you into it. I don't know why it was for me, Urbe. Like I don't know why. Like I gravitated to him. I mean, I guess there were some other guys to like, or you know.
You know what it was?
Why did I like the goaltender? I can't go back and ask 10-year-old, 11-year-old Brodie that question, but I'd love to know.
It was the entire like wall comment. That's what it was for a lot of people. It was the whole like wall. Now, okay, the stakes have gone up. It's going to get a little tougher. Name these two players with the long-haired middle guy in the middle.
Oh boy.
Good. Let's see how you do. Can you name either of those two players? And this was all taken at the same event.
It's not staying up on my. It's like.
Oh well, no. It's because
I keep talking, AJ.
The other guys have to mute so my picture stays up there. So you have to think long and hard. But it's the same era. You have to think long and hard. One of those guys was actually brought here from New Jersey.
That's a good one.
This is pre-Brodeur.
Yeah, on the right looks so familiar. I'm drawing a blank. Wait, here's what I'm drawing on this one.
All right, the two names, that is Wade Flaherty and Chris Terreri.
Yep.
Oh. Good ones, man. That is classic.
I told you, man, I'm old school. I'm old school.
Thank you,
Hey,
Eric.
you know, I was rock, dude. I was rock. I was all about
AJ,
Motley
I'm
Crue,
sorry.
baby.
I'm
You know
sorry.
what?
I'm sorry. You have to go
Stump
on
the bro
with that
dog.
again.
You just stumped the bro dog. So.
Oh boy! All right, well that's sort of taking it to the tweets. With the exception of NHL ties, I asked for a grade for my tie, and they tweet out at PuckGuy14 hashtag WTH, and it's a picture capture of Brodie with no tie.
Yeah, but I had one on earlier.
I know, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. He had one.
I don't watch the replay.
He had one on earlier.
No, the better.
Pulled together with
Toronto.
45 seconds.
No.
Wait, I'm trying to remember when we did Late Night Confidential. Did I wear a tie for that? Maybe.
I think he had it on, but I think he kind of had it like.
Oh, I know.
You essentially now see that we'll talk about another great segue. You essentially had what I have going on now, which was tweeted earlier from Generation X, the man, the myth. It says, it took AJ all of 20 minutes to put his tie into Dean Martin at 2 a.m. mode. It's like all I'm missing is a martini or a rocks glass at this point.
Oh boy.
That's a perfect one.
With that, let's touch up on the next game.
When do you guys do commercials here, by the way?
It just happened. You just missed it.
Right. Apparently,
we're still waiting for sponsors, but they're all lining up. We just haven't decided yet.
Apparently, everybody wants the plant in my living room to go on QVC, but that's not happening.
Can I recommend insurance for all of your insurance needs, by the way, since there's no
yes.
I would like revenge on Pekka Rinne.
Yes.
I would too, especially when eating Pizza My Heart pizza during the pregame show.
And La Vix.
And La Vix with the old pizza with orange sauce. Now we're talking.
Oh my!
All right, we're getting off on a tangent again.
So
I know.
So back to the
Nashville actually won tonight. If you all didn't see that, but after losing 6 straight, they won 2-0 or 2-1 over Arizona in overtime.
Oh, hold on. Eric has a graphic. Speak, Eric.
I know. So here's your current standings right now. Hey, like Randy would say, you take things to the next level. And once I figured out how to put graphics up, oh heck yeah. So Nashville is now tied with Anaheim for 91 points with the same amount of games left going into the final 14 for them. So that's the Sharks' next opponent. The San Jose gets 2, so they go to 74 with 15 to play.
It's been very interesting. Like, neither Nashville or Anaheim really feel like running off with the Western Conference.
They all know they want to avoid Winnipeg at the moment.
Yeah, but they've had their sputters. Every time one of them sputters, it seems like the other one does when they have the opportunity to take it out for a walk.
I don't think anybody has really run away with the Pacific. I mean, Anaheim obviously has, a sizable lead, but I mean, it's like you're looking at Vancouver and Calgary, who have just, I don't want to say floated along, but they've kind of left the door open for the Sharks, or at least they did a lot of the time in February. They haven't run away with it. The Kings obviously have made their push to get closer into that picture. So that's what I've been saying all along, and I think you look at Calgary and Vancouver as the teams that, if the Sharks and Kings were both going to make their move, it's a straight up swap.
You have to take advantage of Ryan Miller and Margie O'Donnell going down. That's what you need to take a hell of.
Things couldn't have worked out better in their favor with those two teams suffering. I mean, basically, Calgary's leading point guy and Vancouver's by far number one goalie. I mean, no disrespect to Eddie Lack, but on another note, like, who would have thought this Central? Is it still the Central sending 5 teams? I haven't looked at the standings after.
Yeah, it's right now it's 5 teams.
So there you go. Yeah,
there. Chicago, Minnesota, Winnipeg.
So I mean, who would have thought that the Central would be sending 5 at this point? And further than that, I think we knew St. Louis and Chicago are the teams that they are, but who would have thought Nashville would be leading the way, post Trotz era? I mean, they've actually not only held it together, they've even gotten better.
And how's Trotz done with his new club? Pretty good.
I mean, it's been something else with Washington too.
There's no surprise though with him. I think to me, in being around like a little bit of the I don't want to say the coaching culture, but and Drew was obviously a big part of this too, because he kind of opened the door to a lot of us to talk about coaches or talk to the coaches. But I mean, guys like Trotz, Boudreaux, Todd, obviously in that mix, Babcock. I mean, there's like an elite class of head coaches in this league, and I think Barry's definitely up, and Dan Bilesma. I think these are all names you could put in that Class A category.
That's a name that Eric has trotted out many a night, but now that we've talked about the push with Vancouver and Calgary, realignment. Your thoughts? What do you think about realignment now after a couple, a season and a half?
Didn't we just do that?
No, I think.
No, I mean going
from jumping over to.
Yeah, I'm talking about. I'm talking about moving from Arizona, L.A., Anaheim, Dallas, San Jose, making up the 5-team Pacific. Condensing from 6 to 4 divisions. What do you think? Especially with them being unbalanced, which I think is not cool. And I actually would move more for contraction than expanding 2 teams to make it balanced. Especially when you look that Florida had 8,200 fans the other night.
So we're looking back on realignment. I'm sorry, I thought you meant the potential to change again.
No.
No, I think geographically and I do love this. The biggest thing I love of it all is the schedule change, in that you're playing every other team at least twice in the season. Like tonight's a perfect example of that. Sidney Crosby is going to be at SAP once a year at least. And it is kind of weird that the Sharks aren't playing Pittsburgh until this 9th of March, and both the meetings come in this month. So that is kind of odd. And you will get some of the odd games even later March and into April. But overall, I mean, I think the scheduling part of it, to me, was the bigger drastic change. But I do like. I mean, it makes too much sense it makes too much sense. Like to have Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver all in the same division, as much as it is the 3 California teams, and then you kind of have to throw Phoenix in that mix too. So, I mean, I really like the Pacific Division the way that it's laid out, and I think travel might be a bit easier. Obviously, that Dallas run wasn't helpful to anybody, and plus you had a couple other teams, like obviously Detroit was a big deal that changed conferences, and I'm sure that they love, the TV side of things and the ratings side of things. But you know what, overall. I think it's gone pretty well. I don't have too many gripes about it.
The one thing that does upset me is not seeing Detroit more often from the realignment. Just because I live in the South Bay. I'm very close to the Shark Tank. I never see anybody wearing Detroit gear except on game day. They come out of nowhere. This is amazing to me. And so it was a lot of fun whenever the Red Wings came to town. So now that they're only coming to town once a season, that's kind of a bummer. I do like the fact that we're seeing Vancouver more, but the one thing that does kind of irritate me, at least so far, and I think you've even mentioned this on pregame a couple times, is the fact that whoever the schedule maker is, he's a little goofy. I mean, this season we had 3 games with Edmonton inside of 5 games. 3 out of 5 games were against Edmonton. Last season, we were done with Vancouver by like Thanksgiving. I mean, it's just an amazing amount of bizarre scheduling. All right, okay, Eric's turning on his John Travolta, Danny Terrio thing.
Sorry, my tie really quick. By the way, NHL ties, since we know you're watching, Brodie has a tie on now. So you don't need to suspend him. He had one on earlier.
Yes, the dimple's good gap control.
All right. So there's that. Sorry.
This is actually one of their favorite. This is actually one of NHL Tie's favorite. This is the world famous Easter tie, which check the calendar here should probably be put back into service pretty soon.
Right.
Very soon.
You know what though? I've been watching like an eagle. I have yet to see you throw down the Jerry Garcia one I gave you like a season or 2 ago. But that is a pretty wide tie. You need a little fuller body to pull that off. That's a big tie. That's all. You almost need clown shoes to wear that tie.
I have a large selection here, and then I have even more.
How many did
that one might be at the office right now?
How many did Remenda leave?
Oh, he gave me over the course for whatever it was last season. Like he threw a couple my way, and then at the very end, It wasn't because he knew anything, or it wasn't anything like that. He just gave me a couple because he didn't want to bring them back to Canada. He's like, here, I don't want these. Like, okay, that's cool. And eventually, as kind of news unfolded that he wouldn't be back, I'm trying to remember how it went. If I knew in advance, I mean, obviously I knew quite early, ahead of when the public knew. I got a phone call saying that he wouldn't be around, but I think it was like maybe earlier that same day or later the next day, I got a package in the mail, and it was the iron that he has used at SAP Center for all those years. And it's like, he and I would talk about irons. Like, there's this Rowenta brand, which is like, if you're going to iron, it's like the Lamborghini of irons. They're made in Germany. Like, you don't even have to touch it to the clothes, and they just like de-wrinkle. It's like you put the clothes and the iron in the same room, and they all.
It uses the force.
Yes, exactly.
Now, because we're talking about items, we do have to mention this. This is from Joshua Nedich at Chester Chivo. We all make fun of me and my plant on being on QVC, but now we have a new offer to try to get some sponsors on here. It is the Brodie Brazil show used dog mask.
Wait a second.
It's for $27.44 with 3 easy pay for 3 easy payments of $9.14.
Who does that so fast?
And apparently you have a free Sharks tweet up button with purchase.
So see, you have no idea. There's a couple guys that watch us that are awesome tweeters that we talk to. We talk to these guys pretty regularly, and they are Photoshop wizards.
Man, that is just the precision, the timing, the quickness. That is impressive.
Getting back to Drew for a second. We've discussed it at length, and I know of course we wouldn't ask you to say anything that would be make you fearful of your.
Careful.
Yeah, I know. Of course, we don't want to ask you anything that would make you fearful of being canned by CSA. We don't want to get that part. But it's just we've had a lot of discussions on Pucknology that it seems like once John Totora, and I know he's been with the group a couple of years, but it seems as though once he was introduced as the COO. There have been very few decisions that have come, and I'm not saying that they're all his, I'm not saying any of them are his, but it seems as though the decisions have been very questionable to the Sharks fan base once he's taken over, whether it would be the whole Ice Girls thing, whether it would be the CGI graphics behind the nets on home games, whether it would be letting go of Drew Amenda. There just seems to be a laundry list where the only thing that fans have been happy with under the Totora regime has been the outdoor game and moving the Worcester Sharks out west. But I would definitely say that
name them the Seals.
The let it go, man. But
that might happen. I think that might happen. By the way,
the number one complaint I would say by far, because people still talk about letting go of Drew. Why would you let go of arguably the most beloved guy? I mean, yeah, of course, everybody loves Randy. Everybody loves Dan. There are people that still talk about Pete Stemkowski, Steve Conroy, the guys who did it in the past. But Randy and Drew were essentially the gold standard, the local Emmy-winning guys. How do you let go of such a beloved guy? Was it really a case that everybody tends to talk about and say, well, it was too much truth for the front office to handle? That just.
So, what do you want to ask?
Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna go.
You have a question to go with that monologue.
I'm gonna go full on. I'm gonna go full on. Gary Radnich, your thoughts?
Oh yeah, leave it open. I'd say good knowledge back to you.
Yes.
So let me a couple things. I think, first off, John, he's obviously the guy that the face and the front in terms of the franchise, business-wise and things that they do, and to say that he's the only one coming up with ideas, or maybe that I really honestly don't know how it works in terms of final say of things, or how much was initiated by him or not. It's hard for me to answer that question because I know him on a personal level. I like him a lot, and I think that when you hear some of the things that he has to say, like he and I had a really good chat, actually, during the practice session at the Stadium Series, just going on about, and like I was saying before, about what the team should do next year to commemorate, year 25. I think sometimes when ideas get put out there, or when the team goes about making a change, they do as much. I mean, they exhaust the internal resources of what do we think in this office? How will this work? Like sometimes even studies are done. And I don't know to the extent of all the things we're talking about how much research goes into it, but these are big business decisions. They don't make dramatic changes on a whim. There's a lot of thought that goes into all these things. So I guess I would just say, I guess maybe it's in his and their defense. Sometimes you really don't know how the public will respond to some things, and I think that I've done a pretty good job of hearing at least the public reaction after a decision's been made. And I'm not saying that some things you part ways with Drew. That's it. And you had a good option in Jamie Baker, and you had the roster so deep that Brett Hedican could slip into the radio role. I mean, let's face it. Like the Sharks were very fortunate to have such talented people already around. Can you imagine if somebody new was brought in this year and they weren't very good? And I mean, it would make people who are already having trouble with that transition, I think, even more, in
more frustrating.
Yeah, in a more difficult spot. So, I mean, I think a lot of elements. Again, I'm not in the office when they make any of the decisions. I mean, heck, even my role this year has changed. I don't do any of the rinkside stuff anymore. But you know what? I enjoy doing the pre and post game shows. I like that focus. I didn't make that decision. I just roll with it. So. I guess that's distracting. I guess the overall answer, at least in terms of the front office, is just so you guys know, they put so much effort and consideration. They love, as much as it's their business and it's their livelihood, don't think that they don't love this product just as much as you do. They don't want to do things to make the core disrupted of fans. The original fans, new fans, casual fans, dedicated fans. They want to try and appease everybody all at once. So they're trying to go for as many win-win situations as they can. Now, the only thing that I can really tell you about Drew, and it's really all that I have, is that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have my suspicions too. As much as I've ever talked with Drew, I don't think there was one defining reason, because if there was, I think he would have felt comfortable in floating it out there and putting it out there and saying, hey, this is why, or, he and the team would have decided, a joint statement to make, and they just didn't do that. So I don't even have a great answer for you other than.
I will tell you.
Yeah.
That I ran into Drew during the first Edmonton home game.
Mm-hmm.
Now here is a photo that was taken at opening night. All right?
You're gonna kill me.
This is a photo taken on opening night of
Why
this
are you
season.
creeping on John, by the way? Like you look really creepy on. Like
No, that's now let me tell you this. Let me preface this with this. I was about 5 IPAs in. It was opening night. All right, give me a break. So I went up to him and I said, I'm like, hey, John, can I get a photo? He said, absolutely. And I said, cool. And so they took the photo, and I turned around and I said, hey, thank you very much. By the way, get Drew back, dude. You need to bring Drew back. And then he goes, okay, thank you. And I left, and that was fine. And then a couple months later, Edmonton comes to the tank, and Drew, being the consummate professional, what is there not to love about Drew? I'm at the tank early, and I just happened to see Drew walking around the mezzanine area. I go up to Drew, and I said, hey, can I get a photo? And Brodie, I think I've shown you that photo.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I said, hey, thanks so much for the photo. And just to let you know, I ran into Toro the opening night, and I kind of ripped him a new one for letting you go. And he goes, did you really? And I said, yeah. And he goes, that's awesome.
I mean,
I think Brodie, Drew's just saying, hey, I appreciate the support, but it was just a very fun moment.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I've worked for different companies before. I worked for one that, I was eventually going to leave there anyway, but they did the honors in canceling the show that I worked for, and I still have whether it's good or not, I think it's turned out to be a good thing. I think a lot of athletes, I mean, Dan Boyle was undrafted. He played with a chip on his shoulder and still plays with it throughout his career to the point that he has a Stanley Cup and a gold medal to his name. And it's in the same way that, an experience I've had, it puts a chip on my shoulder. And, Drew doesn't need a chip on his shoulder, but, look, overall, I'm really happy for where he is. We all know that he's talented, and now he's closer to home. He's quite honestly broadcasting to maybe a bigger audience, more of a hockey savvy audience, and that's no disrespect to California, Bay Area. It's just the fact that he's in Canada now broadcasting, and the percentage of people that are interested and seriously interested in the game is much higher there, per capita. But bottom line is, I think even the team, I don't think they let go of Drew as a message or a reason for anything that he did wrong. And I think sometimes, you look at longevity in any of our businesses. I mean, I don't know. CSN could easily say next year, you're off the Sharks. Like, our ratings have changed. I'm just making stuff up here, but they could easily pull me off it in the same way. And I wouldn't have really an explanation for you if they didn't give me one. And I think that
not everybody's going to have Dan Rusanowski's career with one team. I mean, he has been absolutely spectacular. Yeah. But with Drew, the funny thing I think is with Drew now is that now he's not being paid by a team. He's being paid by Rogers. So I think maybe he has a little more freedom in that regard, which I think is fantastic for him.
You and the Oilers primarily is, don't think that maybe there's not say that that team doesn't have say with, their rights holder who is the guy for them. I think that's another thing too. A lot of people, you guys are obviously a lot more knowledgeable about this than most, because the initial feedback I got. So to sum it up, I mean, I had known for a couple weeks that Drew wouldn't be back, and I think the news broke. I was in Santa Barbara that day on vacation, and I finally, I took one look at Twitter maybe before dinner, and it just was blown up. So I realized, okay, it's out there now. So I quite honestly, I had a nice little. I had it saved in my drafts, a nice little tribute to Drew. I just wanted to say my thanks. The guy, meant a lot to me in terms of coaching me up, seriously. Like, even for my the 2009 season when I would be on the bench, and his impersonation of me was, all you ask is how important questions. How important is it to do this? How important is it? And I look back and I was like, damn it, you're right. And so he honestly made me better at the job than I definitely was day one, and I learned a lot from him. So, I mean, I kind of put I put a tweet out there that I had kind of, planned for a while, but a lot of people thought that it was CSN's doing, because, of course, he's on CSN and, he's a CSN employee. Well, it actually turns out that, he's completely not. It's a Sharks decision. So, again, not to put anybody at fault or point the fingers anywhere. I'm just saying that most people initially even had it all wrong, and they thought that CSN was the one that was doing this.
Right. Because it varies by team how it is. I mean,
most teams.
I think all of you except for like Curtis, Kurz, and you are all Sharks employees. You guys are CSN.
Right.
So.
Yeah. That Hetty went over from our side last year to being obviously on the team side this year. But even if you look across the board, not to go too far off track here, but for the A's, pretty sure that Glenn and Ray I'm pretty sure they're A's employees. I know Giants, obviously, Kruk and Kuiper are Giants team employees. Pretty sure all the other teams that we have that the announcers they're employees of the team, and rightfully so. I mean, it's the team's broadcast,
Right.
So they're the ones.
Do you think that causes a conflict of interest, being a employee of the team versus being an employee of the station, whether it's radio or TV?
More so than anything. I mean, it creates some interesting scenarios. I don't know if it's a conflict of interest, because look, I work for CSN and I treat it like I work for the Sharks. I mean, and I get, you guys probably see on Twitter here and there somebody will say, oh, you're a homer, you're this, you're that. But I mean, if you think about it, like, do I want to be fair to the players? Yeah. Do I want to rip somebody if I don't have to? No, I really don't. Like, I try and be, I think we're all going to call a spade if somebody has the the turnover that causes the game-winning goal, we're going to mention it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to ask the player about it. I don't know that we're going to rub it in his face. But I guess my point being that
Do it.
No, I'm just saying I am going to promote. I am going to promote the team, and I am going to promote the good things that happen, and I am going to let you know about some of the bad. Like if the Sharks had lost tonight to Pittsburgh, I certainly would have mentioned that it's the first time that's happened on home ice since '97. Like it has to be put out there. So
of course,
you don't want to do anybody a disservice, you know.
No, Randy, that's one of the things I love. That it seems that I know a lot of myself, Eric, a few other Sharks fans that I know, that when you see, it's so funny that we always kind of bitch that, all East Coast bias and the Sharks don't get enough national attention. And then you see they're getting 7 national games. And then you go, oh, crap, that's 7 games that I don't get to hear Randy and Baker call it. And,
although it's nice to have them do all these NBCSN games, that's for darn sure.
And that was my point. It's like, this is almost like the best of both worlds. They're getting some national pub, but you still have Baker and Randy doing the call, which has just been spectacular. And is there a bigger pro than Randy when it comes to doing these national games? Because I remember a couple of years ago when Drew and Randy called the Sharks game on a Friday night, and then the next night they were down in L.A. calling like an L.A.-Detroit game or something.
Right.
Just the consummate professionals. It was amazing, and it just made it more fun to watch a game that really didn't mean that much to Sharks fans, except for you got to hear your guys calling it, and you got a couple of the inside jokes, whether Drew was talking about getting a Diet Pepsi or whatever.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Well, icing on the power play, that's never good.
That's right. You take your game to the next level. Or the one I think I have on YouTube is
Head on a Swivel.
Head on a Swivel or the Lucky Charms.
Your feet.
Yes. Chris, you had one question, and then we're going to wrap this up since I think we're going long and we're going to just go long. Go.
At the very least, we have to let Brodie get to his fiancée, for Christ's sakes. Come on, people.
Yeah, so real quick question. I've noticed this year, we talked about it a while back, Jamie Baker's been doing a lot more like inside the glass. Like it's almost every game, actually, it seems. Do you know anything about that? Because we kind of speculate, but we don't really have any insight there.
Yeah, so the whole shift this year in new people and Bakes being down at ice level and Randy being up high, that's something they actually, I think we've been wanting to do that for several years now, and I try to get Drew down there. The biggest challenge at SAP, the rink is not built to the specs of like a lot of other newer rinks, so that there is that position on the opposite camera side, so there is a space between the benches. At SAP, there's literally the plexiglass in between the two benches, and there's a door there, but that's it. So it was finally working with the coaching staff, working with the team to get a location down there for Bakes, and then once they built the location, they said, hey, you know what, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this basically all the home games. They've tried to do it even on the road. Phoenix is, I know, a spot that allows for it. A couple other rinks that have that cutout area between the benches that broadcasters can use. So it's the NBC model. NBC Sports does that, with obviously if it's Pierre down there. TSN's been doing that. I think Ray Ferraro is one of the best in between the benches. And honestly, that's why they kind of changed their model of even having me down there to ask questions during timeouts or, intermissions and stuff. It's put him in the studio. We need, a full-time studio host and have Bakes handle all the stuff between the benches. And so I think it just goes, like I said, big picture. It's more of the NBC model to do it that way. And
although sorry, Brodie, but although I do love how Brent Burns tries to mess with your hair when you're trying to interview players. It's always funny to see how you have all these guys that are, you're at work, you're trying to, stay focused on everything, and then all of a sudden you're getting fooled around with a hockey stick.
Yeah. I could tell you so many war stories about doing just even bench interviews and what real quick to sum it up. You're looking for, first of all, you're looking for your whistle, your TV timeout, your under 10 whistle in the second period, or no, under 6 in the first or under 10 in the second. Anyway, you're looking for your right whistle. Then you're looking for, okay, who's the player that I'm going after, that I've got a good question for. sometimes they're stuck out on the ice because they're the next shift on, or sometimes they were just on for the whistle, so they're completely out of gas and they're off limits basically because they're huffing and puffing. They can't even get air to talk. So I mean, sometimes you go from plan A to B to C to D really fast. So the burning question you had for the guy that just scored his first NHL goal, it's not going to work all of a sudden. So there's that, and then there's dodging people. There's, I got the earpiece. I'm waiting to hear from the producer, like, okay, we're recording, go ahead. There's so much going on down there. It was almost like sometimes totally seat of your pants. And so my point is, out of all this, I was so laser focused to try and get you something out of everything. And you know what? I mean, sometimes I felt like I'd have a great way to put it, or a great, question for a player, and their mind just at that point, they have to be into it. They don't know. They honestly don't know I'm coming until I, tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, look straight. The camera's straight ahead. Here we go. And they knew what I was coming for and all that. So after a couple of years of doing it, no surprises. But I would go into those things so serious. So like when Burnsy would be doing like that, or squirting water on me, or whatever, it was like it took me like even longer to realize what was actually happening, because I'm like, wait, what? It's just I wasn't even in that mindset. It just goes to show you how loose he is down there.
Hey, at least you've never taken a Kyle McLaren hip check.
Oh,
Drew did for Shark Bite. But you know what? We do have a couple of quick tweets for you. One, of course, being from NHL Ties, who wants to tell you, admit it, Brodie. If you look at the photo of him, it says you just missed Tie 99 as your time master. He wanted to get that out to you. And then to kind of go off board a little bit, from Daryl Martin, he's asking, should the A's have traded Cespedes during the pennant race?
Ooh.
I don't know how anybody could say yes with hindsight.
Yeah, and that's a tough question to ask right now. Well, so let me just make one more. Can I just make one more Drew comment first, and then I'll get to that. It's just like when I see a picture like that, it brings me back to he was a great guy, and I understand that he'll be missed, and it's like, but it's like a closed chapter, and I think he would tell you the same thing too. I really do. Like. I know he misses it here. I know he misses California, the fans. Even though this is a non-traditional hockey market, I know he misses it. But I got to the point too where I was like, the only thing I never wanted to do on air was say Randy and Drew, like that flub, because it's like it's memorized in your brain, to say it that way after 5 or 6 years and all the other years they were together. But anyway, again, I still love Drew, and I still love the Sharks.
Well, was there anyone who ever had a shorter career on Twitter than Drew?
You know what? The one thing I take it back. I'm mad at Drew because I tried to convince him after all the years, and he didn't do it. And then, sure enough, thanks to a bet I think he made with Jeff Merrick, it
was the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, he said if he were to do that, or something like that, he'd try to get him on Twitter.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's my Drew rant is that I still love Drew, and I understand where the Sharks are at. They make business decisions. It's the way it goes. So, and going back to the A's, you know what? It's tough to evaluate that now. I will say, the fact that it caught everybody, I feel like, so off guard. It was so far off the map, trading away Cespedes. I mean, you knew that Lester was out there. You knew that was an option for maybe some team. To think it was an option for the A's, and to think that Ioannis was part of that, was even in consideration to be dealt away. It just shocked me. So I think that's the biggest thing I take away from the Cespedes deal was it was almost, you could run through your mind other players that maybe, that the A's could give up, but I guess I never would have saw Ioannis as a candidate,
Right. And for anything especially. So with that, we're going to wrap it up because I know we all need to get some rest. Brodie, I know you have a crazy schedule ahead, and from the bottom of my heart, I totally appreciate you doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I gotta keep from rusting, right? Like I need the practice.
Right.
I told you.
absolutely.
I'll put together like a little high school memorial mix together for you. You'll love it.
I can't wait for that.
that.
Oh gosh, that's gonna be insane.
Now,
Because
looking forward, we have.
now looking forward to Nashville. We're gonna try to get back onto this. It's actually the last Black Thursday night of the year.
And this is 16 games left? This is 16 games left now?
Let's take a look at the standings now. Oh, wait, that's the wrong graphic. My bad. Oh, sorry.
Wow, someone took a left turn.
Hey. Let's take a look at the standings one more time. So the Sharks have 15 games left. There are 3 points out of a closest playoff spot, which would be number 3 in the Pacific with Calgary. Minnesota and Winnipeg play tomorrow. Although at the same time, if I remember correctly, also LA plays tomorrow against Colorado, which is kind of let's hope that doesn't go into an overtime game. Oh well, for that matter, the other two as well. But you got 3 games huge for the teams that are surrounding the Sharks right now. If they can all lose, that's one less game in hand, and a huge change could come on Thursday night with the Sharks winning that one. So with that said, Thursday night, Nashville. You know they want revenge again against Rene. They're coming off a nice win against Pittsburgh where, yeah, they probably need to work on their game a little bit just because Pittsburgh was coming on strong in the third. They don't want to have another collapse. I think that's in their heads a little bit more now.
And these are the 2 games, the final 2 home games before they go on the Big East swing, right? Nashville and Montreal?
Nashville and Chicago.
Oh, Chicago. I'm sorry. Oh, they go to Montreal. That's what it is.
You have the matinee against Chicago on Saturday.
Okay, my bad.
They're gone for 2 weeks. I think from the 14th to the.
Thank God they got rid of the SAP Open in February, right?
Like you said earlier, though, it's the wackiest schedule that Todd said it the other day. He goes, the wackiest schedule I've been a part of. 16 to 21 on the road to start, and then now this. It's crazy.
I think what really makes it the worst, if you think about it, is that, from a couple of games ago, well, since Vancouver on Saturday night, from now on until facing LA at the very end of the season, the Sharks, they're in this playoff race. They're not facing anybody that they're chasing. There's no way for them to steal 2 points from a team while getting 2 points.
Right.
There's no one there.
So
that wacky schedule.
Wacky indeed. So they got 2 more left. Nashville, Chicago. They win that, they're right back in the race. Even if their opponents are getting points here and there. So with that being said, time to wrap it up. AJ, I'm going to mute you for a second. Chris, you've been awesome putting everything together. Gentry, you're just having a kick. Oh, there's a birthday cake.
Doesn't move, unfortunately.
Oh, well, speaking of which, my mom said to tell your dad that she'll make a pumpkin cake for him that he was asking for on Facebook. So I'm getting that from Mom through text. But you're on your computer. All right, with that being said, for AJ Strong, Gentry Alexander, J Alexander 46, Chris GWS, and the suddenly bearded Brodie Brazil. Oh, and he said, "Oh wow, you are getting hairy as we speak, man. You're gonna need a shave suit and a pie." Talk for a second, Brodie, so everybody can see you.
I should go full screen here, right?
Yes.
There we go. How does that look?
For everybody here, this is an epic night that we probably will soon never forget, nor top. For everybody, I'm Eric, PuckGuy14, saying keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh. Good night, everybody.
I'm pretty sure that's copyrighted.